Januar 44.
Ach ja.
Okay, today's the 3rd of March, 2022, and we are in Bad Nauheim, Germany, and this is Mike McConnell, and I'm talking to my mother, Jenny McConnell, who has been through a lot in her life, and I wanted to ask her to talk about experiencing hunger, what it was like as a young person to not get enough to eat, and how you handled that. Because I have to say I have never personally experienced any prolonged hunger. Maybe a day at the most, but and I think that's fortunately gone from our experience. So, Mom,
Did you say we were bombed out of 44?
in January of 44 is when the
Okay.
house was bombed. Yeah.
So when I talk about hunger, it was all the time later true, but I remember that my birthday in January 45,
44.
44, we wanted to do something special, and lucky us, in December there was a what?
A ration?
A ration, 1 egg per person. So my mother cooked with it, and I don't know what all she did, but she said my egg she would save for my birthday cake. Okay, January came, and instead of birthday cake or a whole egg to eat, I tell you, I didn't even know how to eat an egg or how to prepare it. And then the bombing came. Usually it's nighttime, but on that January Monday, there was a bombing early in the morning while we were in school. Of course, no one knew what really had happened. Later, when we came home, that's a different story. There was nothing left. But I really thought so sadly about that egg that I wanted to eat. Also, I didn't know how to prepare it. And
The egg was lost in the bombing.
the egg was lost.
Oh.
And no cake. Of course, my mother couldn't do anything. Everything was gone. The apartment, everything.
Okay, that was a tough loss to that egg, which had been so valued and planned for.
I always remember a precious egg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is during the war years in Germany, prior to the spring of 1945, when the American army arrived in Frankfurt, which is where you were, right? In Frankfurt, Germany. So even before the bombing and all of that, things were rationed, and so there was shortages of everything. And so what did you eat, or what did you not have? Were you able to get enough to eat before then?
No. Well, we thought we had enough, and my mother cooked potatoes and veggies. She was a good cook, but she couldn't perform miracles. And of course, veggies and so on were easier to get than anything else. But it was a very cold winter, just that one. And lots of the vegetables froze. The store where we bought our veggies, an old lady had a small little place where she sold things that she could get from farmers, and it wasn't much. So, well, maybe carrots, salad, I don't know, a few of those things.
How about meat? Did you have much meat?
Oh, meat? No meat. My mom was happy and she had a little fat, maybe margarine or what to put in the food, because fat satisfies you more than nothing.
How about a banana or an orange or apples or
no tropical food? We were very happy when we got an apple. But another thing before we were bombed out was that we went to the forest and the wie heißt es?
Beach.
What?
The beech trees, Buchen?
Nein, nicht Buchen, die andere. Was, Buchen?
Yeah.
Okay, anyway.
Buchecker,
that
yeah.
one, oh yeah, that one tree had the little seeds, but you have to find one in the woods and see them. they have different sides of of
Nut. It's a tiny nut with 3 sides to it, right? Or
and it hurts to open them.
it's hard to
They're really
open. Yeah.
tight.
Yeah.
So we went to the forest and we opened the old leaves on the ground and picked up these seeds. And it was quite a job till we had enough. And then then we took that stuff in a.
You had to hand peel each one, right? You had to peel the nut, the seed. Yeah.
We did, and then we went to the village where my mother is from and her sisters, of course, and they had an oil mill, and that's where we brought these Bucheckern.
Beech nuts.
Yeah, Bucheckern it's called in German, and we got the oil. And what do I remember there? My aunt Frida wasn't a very good housewife. She one day invited us to what? What do you remember what I said? Was it pancakes or what?
I think so.
Isn't it awful? Now I forgot it. Anyway, she used the oil we had from these little nuts, and she made a soup. That's what it was, and fat. We all got filled with thought. We said oil. And when the soup was on the table and we wanted to eat, we didn't believe it. Because in her Speisekammer,
Pantry.
there were several bottles. One was with the oil.
Lamp oil.
Yeah. And the other was...
the beech nut oil.
Wie nennst du das?
Beech nut oil. The nut oil that you had pressed.
And the other was...
Kerosene.
Wie habe ich
Kerosene. Lampenöl.
Ja,
No?
genau, to put on the fire, to cook a few things. It was all difficult. Anyway, started eating and we couldn't. She had exchanged the oils.
She got them mixed up and she put so it was a big disappointment. Everybody sat down to eat a soup
It
and
was so horrible.
couldn't eat
We
it.
were hungry and nothing to eat, and she changed these oils.
Oh boy.
We couldn't eat it. I don't even know what we ate then. I could have killed her.
What was normally a meal that you mentioned to me that there was bread that you got like
Bread is seldom.
yeah.
But in Germany we also, bread is not a meal thing. It is either breakfast or evening.
Mm-hmm.
So when they got bread from the baker, they knew exactly so many slices per person, and that was saved. And in the evening you got your bread, or whenever it was planned. And what do you put on the bread? I do not remember. Maybe some mustard.
Yeah.
Some mustard, maybe. Sausages we didn't have. Potatoes. It was a pity.
How about what did you mentioned that you had a man's belt or something that you used to tighten around your middle?
Well, I had my, before we were bumped out, of course, I had my few pieces of clothing, and oftentimes I was very hungry and I put this belt on very tight, then you don't feel the hurt in your stomach so often.
So that really works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it works. But I mean, then one day we decided we'd walk up to the, where my mother was evacuated, still with my little sister.
To the village in the country
With
where your
two
mother
sisters,
was. Yeah.
in Westerwald. So that was at least 3 days walking.
Cross country walking, no cars or public transportation or anything. You just walk.
No,
Yeah.
the only car on the road were the Americans with their
Tanks and stuff. Yeah.
tanks, or wie heißen die Autos?
Jeeps.
Yeah. But then we walked and we got out of Frankfurt and into the towns, and in the villages people were great because so many people and soldiers and all were on the way home that lots of people were on the roads, and in the villages the gymnastic halls in the schools. They opened up for people who marched around there to
Who were travelers.
spend the night.
Travelers.
Yeah, well, if you want to call them that.
Yeah.
Hikers, young people, 14, 15, who went home, who were drafted in the end, and all such things. And they could then spend the overnight in the village. And the farmers were nice too. They gave you some potatoes or a slice of bread or what. That's all. It's amazing. We weren't so hungry. It's strange. Well, anyway, we walked more than 3 days to Limburg with all sorts of advantages, adventures, and then crossed the bridge of Limburg, but this one was occupied by the Americans. They didn't let anyone across, and we had to say who we are and had to show our
identification.
Yeah, right. And they finally let us go. We were 3 girls, my 2 cousins and I. We walked across that bridge and up into the Westerwald border.
This would have been in 1945, in which,
No, for her.
well, when the Americans were there, they came in the spring of 45.
That's what it was.
So you were 16 when you walked the
Really?
3 days,
Who
and your
knows?
cousins were all about the same age, some
A little older.
little older, maybe 17,
But
18.
anyway, it was many days of walking, and then in the villages they all had the Turnhalle
Gymnasiums.
in the schools.
Yeah.
So you could, in a village, you could ask, may I
Sleep here.
overnight there? But that was all. And shortly before, I want to tell you how rough and mean people were, especially these farmers. They were known to have no feeling
Compassion.
for others. Yeah?
Compassion.
No compassion. About the last hill before Obertiefenbach, maybe 2, there was a farmer with his old wagon, a horse pulling it, and he was walking on the side, and they walked up the hill. And here we were, and I had that little paper.
Cardboard suitcase.
Yeah, and it was hard. I brought a few things to my mother, and so I asked the farmer whether I could put my suitcase in the back of his
Wagon.
wagon, what it was, and he didn't let me. That was a miss. In fact, he said, "Go back where you come from." It was Sündenbabel, anyway, Frankfurt. Imagine a city. Yeah. The ideas they had about the people who lived in cities, and well, he walked on with his whatever and his horse, and I could hardly make it.
So you were very tired, but you did get up there. You made it to your mom's.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna have to stop now, otherwise it'll be too long. This will be the first installment.
Were no good there.
Well, up there, yeah. But you also said they were good. They were kind people.
Yeah, in Taunus and so, yeah.
Yeah, they were kind in other parts, but up there they were tough. Okay, I'm gonna stop for now.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was